I know you and your dad aren't close. I guess he drank too much, and that's at least part of it. How do you think going through that has impacted you as a parent?
Yeah, well, I think you know, I grew up in a little bit of a broken house. You know, the night I won my first late model race was the night my mom moved everything out of the house. So you go from, you know, having this moment where you think you've taken another step in your career to, you know that dad's coming home to, he's coming home to nothing. And so, you know, there was a lot of situations like that. Obviously, you know, he had a drinking problem as I grew up, and you see and are exposed to a lot of things that you probably don't want to do as a parent as you go through you know, time. So for me, I think that, you know, those weren't great experiences as you grew up, but I think there were experiences that say, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be like that, and you look at every situation at how can I be a positive influence in my son's life and not have to experience anything like I did.
How would you handle those situations as a kid?
Well, I think, you know, there's kind of different sections of it as you go through my childhood, and obviously you have the first part of it where all of us are together as a family, and then you have the next part of it where you know, everybody's kind of broken up and doing different things, and you're my senior year in high school, I spent a lot of time at what was then my best friend's house, and stayed, you know, at his house a lot as we went through you know, the school year, and stayed away from it just because you didn't want to be around any of the rest of it. It was almost a better environment to not be at home. So I think as you look at all the pieces of it, you know, it was just not a perfect situation to be involved in.
How do you think it impacted you?
I think it had a good impact on me, to tell you the truth, because
in what way?
Well, I think you see how you don't want things to end up, and how you don't want you know, those memories to be in my son's mind. So, you know, obviously I grew up with my dad and my grandpa driving all over the country racing go-karts, and you know, what are perceived to be really positive moments, and I had some great moments in my childhood, but there's also some ones that aren't very good. So, you know, you have to remember those things, but you also have to move on and move forward and try to make your life as positive as possible, and give. I think it's made me better just for the fact that you want to give him what you didn't have.
How pivotal a decision was it for you to make the decision to, you know, switch teams when your family was unable to afford you going west?
In 1995, 96, 97 were kind of pivotal years in some pretty key decisions in my life. I was probably 19, 20 years old or so, right in there, and we had gotten to a point where I felt like we were kind of stuck and didn't have any money to race. And really the only show in town nationally was Wayne and Connie Spears. They had a Winston West team, a Truck Series team, and they had the money to race right. I had a friend who had went to work down there, and I told him, you know, I'd love to come down there and drive, and he said, well, you're not going to get the opportunity to drive unless you're here. So I went to college for about 6 weeks. I went to the Bakersfield Junior College for about 6 weeks, and I told my mom, I said, this is really not what I want to do. And she's like, well, you need to, if that's not what you want to do, you need to figure it out, and you know, if you're going to follow the racing dream, then you need to chase it. If it doesn't work out, the school will still be here when you get back. So I went down to work as a mechanic, hoping that I would somehow get the opportunity to drive. And you know, I think I signed up to go to work for $25,000 a year, and got an apartment and stayed down there and commuted back and forth. And that was really probably the lowest that it ever got with the. My dad had a tough time with that part of the move, just for the fact that you know, we'd always done everything together, and he had to kind of step outside of that box to say I'm going to go do this by myself. And that was really probably the biggest struggle that we had amongst each other, to go down and go to work and see how it all worked out. So that was kind of me stepping out of that box and almost, I'm sure he felt like, I was abandoning everything that we had built up until that point.
Do you think you felt that?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure that I'm sure he felt that way. But you just have to, just like everything else, you have to go with your gut, and sometimes there's some hard decisions to make.
Do you think he's come around?
I don't know that that'll actually ever all come back around. I think that there's just so many things that happen along the way that I don't know that you can fix all of that stuff.
Yeah. To what extent's there the desire, if at all?
Yeah. Well, I think that right now the best thing for myself and my family is to try to do everything better than the way that I grew up. So that's really the focus right now.